Hey, I asked you a question. Are you going to answer me? Today on BCP. And welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show, the show that's all about having and living the blue collar business dream. If your dreams of business ownership include freedom, independence, financial independence, time, all of those things, we believe you can actually have a business that gives you every single one of those things. And Taylor and I want to be along for your journey toward that success. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us every single week. My name is Carter Harkins, and this is Taylor Hill.
And again, I am here.
Hey, man. So good episode today.
Yeah.
Any episode that includes the guest, Trevor Flannigan, is going to be a good one.
Be a good one.
We're going to talk with him here in a little bit. And the teaser at the top, hey, I asked you a question. Are you going to answer me? I'll unpack that in just a second. But first, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Closing Commander, the automated sales follow-up system that closes up to 20% or more of the open estimates in your business. We actually, this is cool. I just looked in the stats today for October of last month and saw that we have two more huge victories, right? So we kind of measure the goalposts. When someone can get in the app and they actually create 6 figures of additional business in less than 6 months, they become a member of the Commanders Club. And awesome. That's the group of people using Closing Commander that have done 6 figures in less than 6 months of additional revenue through our app. And we have another one. And then we have this is another milestone that we measure. And this is the second time this has happened. We have somebody that has done $250,000 in less than 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So that's our Commanders Club elite right there. Wow. And it's a pretty impressive feat to be able to do that. And you know, every business is different. Some people that we have using the app don't do $250,000 in their entire year, you know, because they're a small owner operator, and that's fine. The app is still just as valuable to smaller businesses as it is larger businesses. But when we see a business get in and do that kind of volume on a stack of estimates that have been in their business, getting nobody rich, you know, I mean, they spend all this money to go out and provide estimates and then don't do any follow-up and never see that money come into their business. To see them use Closing Commander and let that effortlessly automate that process and start bringing in that kind of revenue is just fun.
Yeah.
So I want you to
exciting.
Go. It is. I want you, if you're listening, I want you to go check out our website, www.closingcommander.com. There is a button there you can click to schedule a 30-minute demo with me. And you can see during that call exactly where this sales follow-up automation tool is going to fit in your existing sales process, which is going to make it that much more effective. I believe that a sales process is not complete unless that process includes a step for following up when you provide an estimate and don't get an answer. So if you think that that's a priority of yours in your business and you would be interested in that, I definitely want to encourage you to get the demo. And if you use the link in the show notes to today's episode, when you choose a plan and sign up, you'll get your first 30 days absolutely free. That's right, no charge because you're a BCP show listener. So I want you to do it right now. Go to closingcommander.com.
And I know for a fact we've had people do that.
Yes, they have. Yeah. Absolutely. We've had users sign up and get that first 30 days for free.
You bet.
So when I said, hey, are you listening? I asked you a question. Are you going to answer?
Hey.
We hear customers. Yeah, that's kind of the complaint of customers. We see it in reviews all the time. Mm-hmm. Customers are like, I don't know. I called, but it went straight to voicemail and their voicemail box was full. Or I called and they answered the phone, put me on hold, and then never got back to me on hold. Or any combination of that. And here's a customer who wants to work with you, and they're not getting any real meaningful response from the business that they've chosen to try to do business with.
My favorite is getting a text or an email that says, hey, can you call me? And I text an email back, yes. And I say, is this time okay? Yeah, that time's great. And then I call, and not only do they not answer, but their voicemail is full. I'm like, really? I mean, seriously.
Things happen. And I get not having 100%, capability of answering every single person. But I think in the role of business, we should be making every possible effort to increase our success rate of quickly answering, and not just answering customers when they inquire about our services, but quickly answering, right? And I think it's the quickly part that we're going to be talking about some today.
So with that said, because technology has really made it a whole lot easier to ignore a call, a text, an email. I mean, it's easy to ignore. And what's really interesting, my brother just started what am I want to call home inspection company. And one of the things that he has been amazed at is when people call, he immediately answers. We were taught that because the phone didn't ring that much we had a phone, it was on the wall.
Right.
When it rang, it was somebody special that called you. And so everybody was clamoring to get to the phone to answer the phone. And so everybody in my generation used to answer phone calls really, really quickly. Well, they don't now because it's so easy for technology just to ignore. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you a question, and I do this to you quite a bit when I see something, because I know there were times that I would say, hey, did you call that customer back? And you're like, no, they'll wait for me. No, they'll wait.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know. So you're not like that anymore.
Oh, I mean, I still can be. It's still a challenge for me.
Sure, but I'm just saying there are a lot of people like you who go, oh, I'm in the middle of something and I don't want to take that call, so I'll just throw them to the the voicemail.
Yeah.
I'll get back to it later, and then 4 days later you're like, oh, I gotta call them back. How have you? I mean, you've changed your modality for that.
Well, I don't know if okay, so one of the things that I've done is I've made a real commitment to automate every single possible thing I can automate in my life and in my business to create the results that I want.
Okay.
And so if it's left up to me to answer the phone call, first of all, the first thing is figure out how to make my phone ring less and not less opportunities, but by directing people to front of house communications tools that can field them, answer a lot of their questions before it turns into a phone call, and help them set a proper expectation for when we do have a phone call, what we're going to get done. Okay. So it's automating as much as I can to handle that. It used to be the easiest thing was just put a phone number on your website and let everybody give you a call. And you didn't know what the call was going to be about. You'd triage it. But everybody running a business today knows that at least 40 to 50% of the phone calls you get aren't about, customers wanting to do business with you. It's the guy who wants to sell you something, or it's the, political campaign or contribution thing or whatever. It's, everything but a real sales opportunity and a real chance to do business. So I use my phone as a way. I still ignore most calls that I don't know who it is. But I have a way of knowing who it is now, because the first thing I have them do is go through a process to make sure that they're a good fit to have a phone call with, whether they fit our business model or not.
Gotcha.
And then if they do, they're providing me information like a phone number, so that when that phone number shows up ringing on my end, it's because I've provided them my number at that point, and I recognize their number, and I know it's a phone call I need to take.
Yeah.
So I get very few phone call interruptions anymore that are legitimate, because I've got self-help stuff that's happening for people to be able to answer their own questions and get what they need before it turns into that. So, part of that is, but the other part of it is setting better expectations about, kind of already said this. It's helping people understand what we're going to do when we talk. And that helps me understand that when that phone rings, I have an expectation now. One of the things in my personality is, if I'm trying to solve a problem, I've got to understand what the problem is. And when my phone rings and I don't know what the problem on the other end is going to be, there's a real tendency to want to just avoid that call. But if I know what that problem is going to be when it rings, then I'm much more inclined to answer, because I know I have a solution and I can help them and we can get some work done. We can get progress on that. So that's a lot of what it is. And I've tried to use technology rather than looking at it as an interruption. to look at it as a tool to get more things done in a more efficient way. And I think that's been the case.
So using technology a little different.
Yeah, letting
really
it work
good.
for me
Yeah.
instead of letting it work me over.
Yeah, and I do the same thing to a certain degree. I mean, the CSRs in a service business are much like our account managers. So our account managers, if at all possible, can answer the phone. Now, there are times they're on another line and can't, you have to leave a message.
Sure.
They have systems that they're required to call people back and all that kind of stuff. So there are phones that get answered that are customer facing. And being in sales, I'm a little bit different than you because what I hate is like right now it's a health enrollment time.
Right.
It doesn't matter where in the country it comes from. I got to answer the phone.
Right.
But I no longer answer the phone. Hello, it's Taylor. Can I help you? I just say hello because I wait because I don't want to give people my name.
Right.
Because then they start talking to me about loans and credit cards, all this stuff that I don't care about. And I'm real quick to go, no, and I block a lot of numbers. So I try to use it as much as possible. And I also put our client base in my contacts. So if I know it's a client, I know if they're calling me, there's a reason because they're not calling their account manager.
Yeah.
So, and I know it's important. So that's how I use it. But some companies, you got to answer your phone. You just have to answer your phone.
And it's not just phone today, right? It's text, it's the web
email,
form, it's the email, it's
it's
online chat, it's all of these things. And so we want our customers to be able to reach us in the way that's most convenient for them. But at the same time, we've created additional work for ourselves because we've got all these. We're not even counting social media and Facebook.
I was going to say, there's a whole nother.
All of the channels that we have to monitor now, just in order to make sure we catch everybody and have the communication that we need to have. So it is a challenge for sure. I would say, a lot of that diminished for me as we've grown. Now, a lot of what we're talking about now is on the closing commander side, where it's a startup that I'm wearing a lot of hats again.
Right.
So I'm trying to use technology there to fill the role of like a full-time employee who takes those frontline calls and sorts them and vets them and sends me the ones that I need to really have good, sales conversations with. And so that's working well. But it took a while to get it in place. And there were a few weeks there where it was a little overwhelming. In my personality, I need those systems. Those systems help me stay engaged and not avoiding phone calls or not starting to procrastinate and delay returning voicemails and things like that. So that's all worked well. But the other way of doing it, and I'm speaking to any business owner here who feels like they're overwhelmed and the phone is just a huge interruption to their day. It's also your lifeline and your lifeblood for your company.
Absolutely.
So as soon as possible, even if you think that the right next hire is somebody else in the field in a truck making you money, as soon as possible, get rid of that part of the job that you're doing now that you tend to want to avoid and put that into someone's hands that can be their primary responsibility. You do that and you're going to blow your business up quickly. It's going to just scale and grow a lot faster because somebody is doing the part that you don't enjoy. Frees you up. It's amazing how much of our energy every day gets sucked out of us simply by having to fill it with tasks that we don't enjoy and maybe aren't good at. And if we can offload those things to people who do enjoy them and are good at them, it gives us the reserve energy that we have. It preserves that energy or conserves that energy so that we can focus on the things that really do make the needle move in our world.
Yeah, so important. And the other thing that you mentioned, and then I know we need to get into Trevor's, but I think it's real important to pay attention to something that you mentioned. You said your personality.
Yes.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah.
A
lot of business owners just love getting on the phone.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing they love it when the phone rings.
And if that is you, fantastic. But if that's not you, find the person that loves it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to you got to put the right people on the bus in the right seats. I mean, that is so important to do. And you cannot expect somebody, if you are somebody that doesn't want to be on the phone and you hire somebody else to be on the phone that doesn't want to be on the phone, you have made a bad hire.
Yep.
And that's your responsibility. So you've got to make sure that whoever you hire is a good communicator and loves to communicate via phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And text and email and all the other stuff.
So we're talking to somebody today who's grown a very successful business all around communicating quickly with customers. And we're going to let him just speak for himself here in this interview. He's got, I think, great perspective. He's successfully run a service business and grown it to a pretty significant size in the HVAC industry. But he started a business now that's much different. He'll get into that and talk a little bit about that. His name is Trevor Flannigan. We've had him on the show before. Happy to have him back. Let's play that interview, and then we'll come back after and make a few other comments. Trevor Flannigan, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. I want to talk to you today about something that is important. One of the chapters in our book is all about customer service. And we know, based on the testing that's been done, that the average amount of time that a consumer wants to wait before they hear back from somebody when they either leave a message in a web form or email or leave a voicemail, that time that somebody's willing to wait is decreasing every single time that they measure it. And people just don't want to stick around and wait for somebody to go, "Can I help you?" So you're in a customer service business. You've both been successful in the plumbing and HVAC world, as well as Home Service Chats, which is a digital marketing company that you're heading up now with a very specific product to help people connect with their visitors on their website in a much faster way. Talk about the need for speed, if you will, in customer service interactions.
Yeah, we are absolutely huge on it here. So we chat on websites for people. And the reason we exist is just because we saw that, 95% of people are leaving websites without taking action. And, that's the well-performing websites. Those are like the best constructed websites in the world. Bad websites probably get even less, probably a 3% action rate. So 97% of people are leaving. And I think as contractors, we spend entirely too much money on marketing to have that many people leave. And so we just decided there has to be a better way. And obviously, as far as engagement on a website goes, pop-up chat has been around for a very long time. And we were trying to find a pop-up chat that really worked well for, a service like a, plumber HVAC, where, our average tickets, $400 to, $5,000, if you're not selling tennis balls, you need a better customer service engagement. And I think that all of us contractors, we are just really trying to create the best customer service and best impression with our company. And so we understand that every single customer touch point is important. And so if you kind of have like a robotic front, a person at your front desk of your website, they think it's you, and it's just not a very good experience. And it kind of relates as, there's been Harvard studies that every single touch point based on the quality impacts the point of purchase, the average spend at the point of purchase. And so if you can kind of wow them at every step, whether it's through online chat and then on the phones and then with the technician at the house, the customer is not only going to spend more, but they're more likely to come back and spend again. And we developed Home Service Chats because we wanted to increase the website piece of it, and at a really high level, because all of our chat specialists are here in Kansas City, and I have pretty high expectations and help with some of the training just to make sure that they're delivering the service that I would expect in my own business. And it's worked really well. But to your point of speed to lead, even with an awesome chat service, so we're having a conversation with, Joe's Plumbing or Flues Brothers or whoever, if we just have that conversation and wow that customer, we found that there was a breakdown between us sending the email to the company for them to follow up on that lead and get them scheduled, and us and the customer, basically the contractor calling that customer after the email sent. That's probably 15, 20 minutes on average that people were waiting to follow up on that. And I think that's just a normal office. Like, it's not no fault of their own. It's just, you can only be so fast, and emails take time to get there. And CSRs are, trying their best to keep up with demand. And because of the 20-minute delay, we found that, contractors were going and they were bidding on projects that the customer already got other bids for. And, maybe they couldn't get a hold of the customer. And so with that speed to lead, we started actually calling the customer on behalf of the company. So it's Trevor at Flues Brothers. I'm so sorry you're having that problem. Immediately after we have a chat conversation, so we sound like them, we talk like them, we call as if we are them, and then we call the company and transfer that together. We found the conversion rate to getting a technician in the house went up dramatically because we were engaging them while they're talking to us, because I think everybody's ADD and they just go to the next thing. So the speed to lead is huge. I can't stress enough how important it is to communicate as fast as possible with the customer.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just telling you, I was in the mortgage industry in 2003 to 2010. And back then, if you got a lead or a call or anything through a web form, you had 15 minutes in the beginning. And that quickly went to 5 minutes when I got out. If you couldn't get back with them in 5 minutes, then they were on to the next. And so, as a marketing company that deals in websites and getting traffic to people's websites, a service like yours is invaluable, because now we get to say, look at all these people we've brought, and then you get to say, and look at all these people
converted.
We've converted, and so it's a beautiful thing on the speed process, because people want to be encountered when they're looking. And so I think it's a fantastic thing that you guys have done, because I'm telling you, the speed to lead I think is what is making the difference between a growing company and a company that's kind of dying.
Yeah, you're 100% right. There's a highly regarded Harvard study, and I think it's even dated now, is back in 2016 or so. And they only went up to 5 minutes, I think. So they did 5-minute response time, 10-minute, 15-minute, or even it was maybe 5 minute and 6 minute. But if it was less than 5 minutes, there was a 400% higher likelihood that the appointment would be booked. 400% in the first 5 minutes. After that, it starts going down. It doesn't look very good.
Yeah, it's a cliff. It really is amazing. Well, part of the reason, for home service businesses that are listening right now, who may never have considered what a consumer goes through in order to make an appointment with your business, and what the typical mindset of a consumer is they're looking to make that decision. There are so many tools out there now that show, the top 3 plumbers in your area, or search results that give you options. And so the ability to scan and look and reach out to 3 different plumbers, at the same time. And now the criteria for making that decision is which one's going to get back with me first. And then this one gets back with me. They're able to answer my questions. And maybe they're not the ones with the highest stars, the reviews. Maybe they're not the one that I thought would be the one I'd really want to do business with, but they've answered all my questions, and I've got them on the phone right now, and they're asking, when a good time to set the appointment is. And the path of least resistance, and that's the key, is just go with these guys. Just go ahead and commit. Let's do this, because it solves my problem and it gets the ball rolling to get what I need. And that's the way it works. And the fastest to be able to get to that point is the winner. So, the majority of the time, and the vast majority of the time.
Yeah, my grandpa told me early on, he said, if you can get into the time business, you're going to be a rich man. He said, if you can save people time, it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, what race you are, everybody wants to save time. And so your market is endless. And so if you can figure out a way to make people's lives a little bit more convenient, Uber did that, McDonald's did that, it catches on. People they don't want to waste time, and reduce that sales friction like you guys talked about. Don't make it hard to do business with you.
One of the things you mentioned, and I know you have experience in plumbing and HVAC and running a successful company that grew quite a bit while you were involved. What do you see as the biggest challenges and hurdles inside a company that's growing for CSRs to be able to respond in a timely manner? What is blocking that from happening? And I'm thinking in terms specifically in terms of systems, not necessarily single employee performance, but like what are the system impediments to a quick and proper response time?
Yeah, I think that the customer service department is probably the most ignored department in any contracting company. You know, most of the effort goes towards salespeople and producers and, you know, the chimney sweeps or the plumbers. But the customer service department is the nucleus. They are the ones that talk to your vendors. They talk to your customers. When a technician calls in, they're the ones that talk to them. And pouring love into that department, whether it's training and tracking KPIs and having regular coaching sessions, it pays off more than anything else I think you can do in a contracting business. Like, you're able, if you really focus on that department, turn it into a revenue machine, because these are the people that are dictating everything that happens in your business. And they're the ones, if you listen a little bit more intently than you probably are the ones that are pushing things to the next day that probably shouldn't be pushed. And they're the ones that are trying to really under promise because they don't want to get in trouble and have, you know, a technician work late. And there's just so many issues that we were able to catch by listening to calls, having really good coaching sessions, and then getting on a singular plan as far as like what the purpose of the call center is and what the purpose of the dispatch department is. And we created a divide in our company. So we had the customer service reps, their job is a conflicting and opposing metric to the dispatch department. And it shocks most people because they're like, well, you know, the person that answers the phone, they put it on the schedule. And I think that the best day for a really good customer service rep is booking as many appointments as possible. Like, their best day is just like having a really high conversion rate on the great work that the marketing people in the world did on getting all the phone numbers to ring and getting, you know, the chat actually booked and a customer on the schedule. Like, that's their best day. The best day for a dispatcher is to make the biggest pile of money with all of those calls. Like, if you have those two things, they're kind of conflicting, because the dispatcher is going to have a really stressful day if a call center person, if a CSR does a really great job. Because a customer service rep maybe books 30 calls, the dispatcher is going to say, well, I can only run 25. And so I'm going to have to call 5 customers and reschedule them. But a really good dispatcher can look at it and be like, okay, well, yeah, I appreciate these 30 calls because these 5 over here, they've never used us before. So the likelihood of us converting on it is not likely, or they're preventative maintenance, or we were just out there and it's a callback, so I can schedule it for this guy to go back at the end of their day. And there's so many levers they can pull if you really kind of isolate those roles and put people into them that are strategic on the dispatch side and super bubbly and fun and really great at converting on the call center side, on the customer service side.
Man, that's great advice.
Yeah. Interesting that you see those two things as conflicting. I'd never really thought about that, but you're right.
Yeah. And most companies don't do it that way. I had a business to make money. And so I kind of thought about it that way. And it's not a popular belief system, but once you kind of like really recognize that, and we moved to, I think that scheduling time slots is more so going away as time goes on, because people have cell phones. And so we were pretty progressive in our operation at the plumbing and HVAC company that we booked them for open availability on a specific day. And they'd be like, well, I need a time slot. And we'd say, you know what, like, definitely understand that. We only do one promised time slot, and that's the first call of the day. And we get there at, 7:30 or 8 o'clock. After that, most people like it because you have a cell phone. We'll call you an hour and a half ahead of time, and we'll call you again whenever we're on our way. So you can go to work and just tell your boss, hey, I'm not missing all day long. I'm just going to head on home with the technicians head into my house. And when you explain it to the customer that way, they're like, oh my gosh, like that is way more convenient to me being trapped in my house all day. And I think time slots set you up for failure, because if you say I'm going to be there from 9 to 12 and you're not there at 9:01, they're already mad. So like it kind of saved us from having just that negative bias out of the outset. But then operationally, it allowed our dispatchers to really set up a very functional board for maximizing the revenue of the day, because then they could be like, okay, I'm going to have this guy do this, I'm going to have this guy do this, and then we can prioritize and just check in with customers throughout the day. And it's likely that, you know, you're probably going to have 15% customer loss throughout the day because something came up, or they didn't remember they had an appointment, or they got it fixed by somebody else. And you can mitigate those before you even send a technician to the house by saying, hey, we're heading that way. And if it, you know, they already got it fixed, you can put that technician on another call and make your ultimate operation more than, you know, 90% effective.
That's brilliant. And you're pitching the limitation that, or the customer expectation that was standing in your way from being able to maximize that way. You're pitching it to them as an added benefit, not as a something that has to be overcome or explained away or apologized for. It's like, hey, this is to your benefit too. And they're like, oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, if your customer service reps have been trained properly, like they're going to start getting mad at other people that don't do it that way, because it really is a benefit. I would love so much if somebody was like, well, you know, we'll call you with plenty of time, and if you push us back, we're going to go ahead and bend to your schedule instead of you bending to us.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. See, and what's really good about that, that's part of customer service quick response, if you really think about it, because that customer is going, okay, so if they can get here quicker, they'll let me know and I'll be here. But if not, you're not going to waste my time.
Exactly. So, and you're going to have the people that they're like, I need a time slot, I can't do it. And, you know, you can make special circumstances for those people, or put them on that first call of the day. And you just have to be prepared to make a business decision that takes care of the majority and not the minority. And so like, you're going to get yelled at by a few people, and you just explain, okay, we're going to get you taken care of, Edna. And like, you get them into their time slot because that's what they've always done. And they're like 100 years old and they're not willing to adapt. I'm fine. I want to help those customers too. But most of your customers will really like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If you gear your business for Edna, then you're in trouble.
Man, for sure.
Trevor, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for coming on and talking about this subject with us. Good information you brought. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Trevor had some good insights there in that interview. One of the things he said that I thought was really interesting was in talking about, actually, let me start over. Everybody rolling? Yeah, I think Trevor had some really good insights there. One thing I think I want to really kind of illustrate a little bit more is the fact that whether it's we've always been this way or whether it's a new phenomenon because of technology, but I've heard this even since I was a kid back in the 70s that, you know, we're the fast food generation. We expect everything right now. Right. You know, and I have a suspicion that it went back even further than that when people said, "Oh, well, we're the automobile generation. We, you know, horse and buggies are too slow." And then before that, it was, well, you know, we're the fire generation.
Yeah, it's the need for speed.
You know, now we cook our food rather than
eat it raw.
I don't know, but you know, I think it's always been that if we can find efficiencies, we're wired to look for them, and we do have expectations. Once something is possible, we expect it to be that way.
Oh, yeah.
Shep Hyken, who's somebody that talks about creating a culture of customer service in your business, and he's just got brilliant things to say. We talk about him a lot on the show. We really kind of click with what he says. He wrote an article called Quick Response Provides Customer Service Advantages. And this is a quote from the article. He says, "We are conditioned for speed. And when it comes to customer service, speed can become a confidence builder and a value-added competitive advantage." And I thought that was interesting. And I know that you've said similar things. So I just want to ask you, because you call on a lot of offices and service companies across the country and, you know, talk with CSRs on the front lines. You get to experience firsthand the systems that businesses have put in place to handle phone calls. And I just want to know, why do you think that speed and competency in that first touch that customers have with the service business, why is that such a confidence builder, and why is it such a competitive advantage?
So I'm going to answer that with a story that happened to me today, and it was booking a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So I called to book a hotel. I got from one of the conventions we're speaking at, I got the number that I was supposed to call. It was an 800 number. I called. It probably took a minute to a minute and a half to listen to all their
Please listen closely, as our options have changed.
Well, these were like, I'm sure 10 seconds were greetings in Spanish, English, French, Italian, and I don't know what other, which is great, but they're not giving you all the options in all those deals. So it's like just greet
wasting
me.
My time.
Yeah, you're wasting my time. And we go through this whole thing, and all I wanted was an associate. And I kept saying associate, and they kept wanting my member number. And I'm like, that's why I'm calling. I don't know my member number. So I'm saying associate. So I finally put like 50 zeros in, and they said, your member is 0000. And I'm like, really? And I finally said, yes, one. And I got to a person, okay? And when I got to that person, it took that person another 20 minutes to figure out what needed to get figured out. So my point for that is, by the time I got in to record today, you saw me, I was frustrated.
Yeah.
I was on the phone. I needed you to sign a piece of paper. I was, and so that's what it causes. It causes this angst because I didn't have 30 minutes to spend with you. All I wanted to do was to book a reservation, and you put me through this rigmarole to book this reservation. And I booked it online just fine, but then you made me call because something on your end didn't sync up with something on my end. So I don't know whose fault that is. It certainly wasn't the young lady's fault that helped figure it out. And I'm not saying she was great, okay? It's the systems that you put us through.
Right.
That we can't get an answer, because I'm just trying to figure something out, and it's the same thing with everything.
So while you
days.
were waiting though for the answers, and while you were on hold, and while you were trying to work through a system and a phone tree that was crazy and impossible,
idiotic,
how is that impacting your confidence in the people that you were talking to?
I don't really want to stay at this hotel, and it's a big hotel chain. If I had a different option, I would probably cancel and go to a different option, even if it's a lesser hotel, because at least I have control of what I want. And
you feel like that what you've just the ordeal you've just. Here's the thing: is you get off the phone after all of that, and you still don't know whether or not you've gotten it done.
No.
Do they have my reservation? Is it really going to happen? Have I gotten? Am I going to get a confirmation email? Am I going to show up and they don't have my room?
Because it didn't show up in my member thing. I've got the reservation on my phone, so I've got a backup on it. But it didn't show in this member portal that I'm supposed to be looking at and doing. And it's those kind of things that drive people crazy. So if I'm gonna call a plumber, and I've had this happen too, I've actually called a plumber and said, this is what my problem is. I have a faucet. I don't know what's going on, but every other faucet in my house puts out pressure, and I can't get this faucet. There's no pressure. And the guy said, hey, you have to call somebody else. I don't have time for you. Do you think I'm ever going to call that guy back if anything else happens in my house?
Right.
Seriously. That's the answer I got. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I got way too many bigger jobs than that on my line. You just need to call somebody else. And what that told me is, I'm too busy for you, dude. I'm just too busy for you.
Yeah.
That's a piddly problem to me. Let me tell you. Every time I turn my faucet on in my kitchen and try to fill up a bucket, it's a problem. And it's starting to get worse and worse, and it becomes a bigger and bigger problem. Now, I finally got somebody out to look at it, know what the problem is, so we can get it fixed. But I'm just saying, it's my problem that you're supposed to be considering,
Right.
not your problem.
Well, and even if a business has made an intentional decision not to accept certain kinds of work because it eats into their profitability.
Put it on your website so that I know that.
Yeah. Or if someone calls and wants you to solve that problem, be more gracious about it and actually try to help them solve it. Like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not something that we can really help you with, but let me give you the phone number right now. In fact, let me just transfer you over to them through our back channel. And we've got this arrangement with this company to make sure that you get taken care of. Man, problem solved.
Yeah.
They've taken care of me. They've seen that I have a need. Even though they can't solve it, they're going to put me with the person that can.
Even if it's a handyman or, or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But don't laugh in my face and go, I got bigger fish to fry here. I can make more money over here. Because that's exactly what it told me. And the thing about it was this. This was a company that was referred to me from somebody that I knew about what great service they did and all that. So am I confident? Will I ever refer that company? No.
Yeah.
And because of this show and some other networking things, I get asked a lot. So they kind of...
Yeah, that gets to the customer or the competitive advantage.
Exactly.
Is when you provide good service to someone, even if you can't help them.
Yeah.
You've created a competitive advantage for yourself.
Exactly. And so, having somebody answer the phone quickly is great, but you got to follow it up too with good service.
Yeah.
But it makes a huge difference in confidence. But here's the other thing. I want to go back to my brother a little bit because I had a conversation with him. He went through a course to become a home inspector with, I think it was 7 other people. Okay. And he got his license, I don't know, maybe 7-8 months ago. He was out here recently, and I said, how's everything going? He goes, it's really going well. He goes, but you know what's interesting about that? I'm the only one still in business out of the 7-8 people that I went through that course with. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. I said, so what do you think is the answer? He said, well, I started doing a lot of marketing. So, but the little companies that I've been doing marketing with, the thing that they're telling me that makes the difference is I'm answering my phone on the first 3 calls because they track it all.
3 rings, yeah.
3 rings, yeah. Sorry, yeah, 3 rings. And none of the other people do. And so he said, I have asked the question to them, so nobody does that? And they're like, nobody does that. So think about that a minute. There's not a lot of people that are out there answering calls on the first 3 rings. So if that puts you ahead of the game, then start answering your phone.
Yeah. Which for some businesses could be a bigger thing than for others. I mean,
that's true.
It can be a challenge when you are running a business and doing the work and everything else, and answering phones is part of your responsibility. That hat act, that switching hats that fast and that rapidly from one thing to another can be really difficult to do well.
And I totally get it because I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
I did it for way longer than I wanted to. But I'm telling you,
just
that's your
fake
business.
It. Yeah.
It's your business.
When the phone rings, you just put on the smile, you stop whatever else you're doing, and you answer the phone.
And if you can't manage it yourself, that's got to be one of your first hires.
Yeah, I agree.
It has to be.
All right, we're starting to repeat ourselves. So we're going to wrap up this particular show. I do have some feedback, though, that I want to read. I want to shout out to Stephen Halsey. He's the co-owner at Residential Window Service in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Stephen, you just recently in an exchange said, I really love what you guys are doing for all of us in the blue-collar trades. Very good content on top of useful in my everyday business. Stephen, thanks so much for that feedback. I really appreciate that, and you're welcome. Thanks for giving us that information. If you'd like to let us know how we're doing, we would love it if you'd take a minute to leave us a review in iTunes or even Facebook, or just reach out. You can call me by airplane or whatever. Sorry.
Get the keyboard out.
Yeah. It's a great song, Get Here by
It is.
Alita Adams. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. Also, don't forget you can download our show app for free out of the Apple App Store or from Google Play. Great content in there, bonuses, special offers like this one. Reminder to sign up for a Closing Commander demo over on our website and learn how this automated sales follow-up system can complete your existing sales process. Bring in up to help you close an additional 20% of the open estimates in your business. We're seeing it happen now all the time. Check it out, closingcommander.com. Also, buy a copy of our book, would you? Blue Collar Proud, 10 Principles for Building a Kick-Ass Business You Love. It's available in both paperback and Kindle versions at Amazon.com. If you buy it and you read it and you like it, leave us a review there as well. But
Also,
Yeah.
just stay tuned because you never know when a musical ditty will come up.
Most of all, come hang out with us over in the Blue Collar Proud Nation Facebook group. And you can find out about all the other places where you can connect with us by simply going to bcpshow.com/connect. And that wraps it for this episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. As always, Taylor and I want to thank you so much for being out there and listening every single week. I want to thank the people that make this show happen. Aaron Blaze, our technical director, Jessica Wynn, our show coordinator, and Jonathan Sanders, our community manager. Until next time, remember it takes the same energy to build a business you love you hate as it does to build one that you're proud of. So why not build it the Blue Collar Proud way? Same effort, different result. Be proud of what you build. See you again here next time.
The Blue Collar Proud Show is a production of the Blue Collar Proud Network.